How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I am joined by none other than Sean Ryder. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Just gonna throw up in my mouth a little bit reading some of these nil name, image, likeness headlines from the transfer portal that's going on.
Oh, NIL. Okay, yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah, I can appreciate people getting the bag, as the kids say nowadays, but what just went down with like Tennessee and UCLA? I don't know if you've been following it, but the new information, you know, you have this young kid at Tennessee making $2 million, whatever, leaves. Now he signed with UCLA, right? But the second part to this is the quarterback that was at Appalachian State the past 2 years, which is my alma mater. Okay, he went to like a JUCO. He went to a JUCO in California. Transferred to App State, okay, was at App State for 2 years, picked up his, a little bit of money there, improved his skill set, got better. Then he transferred after last season to UCLA to be the starting quarterback at UCLA. I don't know what his nil contract was there, okay, but he's been there 5 months, okay. Now Tennessee's quarterback transfers to UCLA. So obviously former App State quarterback's not going to be the starting quarterback.
Correct.
So now he's transferred to Tennessee.
Yep.
And he's going to make $1 million at Tennessee. So this Tennessee quarterback downgrades to UCLA. The former App State UCLA quarterback upgrades to Tennessee for this. This was a trade in college football without it being called a trade. And I'm like, dude, 3 years ago, this kid was in JUCO. Now he's at Tennessee making $1 million a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. I just can't stand that.
So the headline says that the former App State quarterback from UCLA, right? He hasn't even played a game at UCLA, but he transferred on nil. While he's been at UCLA for the past 5 months, he's made $200,000. So a university paid this kid $200,000 over 5 months to do winter gym and spring practice. And now he's leaving UCLA without ever playing a game there. And he's going to make $1 million in Tennessee. Like, what the hell?
Yep. It's wild out there. It's going to be interesting to see the crazy stories that come out of it. But I mean, it's just like everything else starts without regulation, and you don't know what you don't know. But it's the handlers that were involved in that particular situation at Tennessee were a little crazy, and they were giving that kid bad advice, and just like you'd expect. And there's just
stick with us here, guys, because we're going to talk about how you can make money. But could you imagine being 20-something years old, college football, making $45,000 a week?
I could. I would have been an absolute mess.
Monster.
Yes. It would not have been good. It would not have been a good thing.
Could you imagine how they act if they even go to class? Like, they wouldn't. There's no way these kids respect professors if they're making that type of bank in college. Like,
they
get out of here!
Class.
I don't need this class. I don't need my intro to health class or my my first college class was history of jazz music.
Well, when you make more money than the professor makes in 10 years, it's probably hard to listen.
Very much so. Very much so.
I always had those problems in college anyway. When you take if you take a business class, I'm like, what business have you run? You drive a Chevette. Like,
that's right.
You're not telling me how to run a business. I mean, I don't know yet, but it's the same thing.
All right, y'all. So now we're going to teach you how to make money. Maybe not $2 million a year to throw a pigskin, but we're going to get you there. So last episode, we talked about someone's particular situation with their first real estate investment property if they take action on it. This episode, we're going to talk about one that involves my dad and maybe me. And then
Mm-hmm.
next episode, we'll bring in one more situation from another guy that has a particular skill set in regards to being bilingual and how he can leverage that with real estate investing in his area in the country. So for me, here's my dad's situation, right? My dad is 64, 65. He retired from his career job. He was a factory worker for his whole life. So he retired from that job 8 years ago, started a little bakery with my mom for a few years. And then when they closed that down, just did some bartending at the club that he was at and made really good money doing that. He almost made more money doing that than he did working for a global company in a factory. So enjoyed that, but he is officially retired as of the start of this last month. Again, 64, 65. It's time for him to enter. It's time for him to enter distribution phase of his life. He's been a really good saver. It's how I learned the value of a dollar. He's got different avenues for income now. He's got a pension from the first company. He's got a 401k that he's not going to tap into for probably a few more years. I'm trying to change his mind on that. He lent some money out. He's got some money coming in from that. And then ultimately, my mom passed away a couple years ago. He does have a new wife, and the house that she owns is, 30 minutes from his current house. It's in the woods. He can wake up, drink coffee, watch deer on the front porch every single day. So now he's got a paid off home. He's going to sell that house. Okay. He's going to sell it for about $225,000 without real estate agents involved. So he's going to walk away with about 220. That's going to be tax-free money. $220,000. And he's got plenty of options, but one option that I've discussed with him is one, becoming a private lender in my real estate partnership, and getting 10 to 12% lending money. And so me and my partner can buy, and he'll make good money doing that as supplemental income. Another option, which I want to talk about today, because that first option is pretty straightforward. We talked about private lending on other episodes. The next option, and it involves what choice he would make, but it also involves, like, is this a silly idea for me personally? We went from having 3 short-term rentals. We're going to close on the sale. We sold one last year. We're going to close on the sale, hopefully by the time this episode drops next week. That leaves us with 1 short-term rental. That is the short-term rental in North Carolina that we use 2 to 3 times a year. The financials of that property is last year. Okay, this property was worth, in September of 2023, this property was worth $705,000. Okay, I was told by a real estate agent in that area that right now it would be worth about $775 to $800. Okay, we got a DSCR loan on that property for $550,000, but it's at like 9.1%. Okay.
Yep.
The mortgage on that property is a little over $4,000 a month. Last year, the property did $93,000, but we were closed for 60 days after the hurricane. And those 60 days were September and October, which are football season for the university in that town. And so we probably would have pulled in another 20. So that property would do 110. Okay, so 48 of that goes to a mortgage. 15% of that goes to our property management group, which is just a married couple, and they do a fantastic job. I don't want to get rid of them. So that 15% off the top. Would it be an option and smart, once I sell this second to last short-term rental, I'm going to have one LLC now holding 1 property. It used to hold 3. Now it's going to be 1 LLC holding 1 property. Okay.
Yep.
We have 200. Yep. This is a lot of information, but I see you writing it down. So you're tracking with me.
Yep.
We have about $200,000 to $250,000 of equity in property. It's got $500,000 mortgage at 9.1%, $4,000 a month. Is there an argument to be made that my dad sells his house tax-free, $220,000. He's got a little extra cash on the side, making nothing in the bank. I have access to another half of that. would it behoove us to bring my dad on as a 50-50 partner in that single LLC with the single property? We pay off the 9.1% mortgage. We now no longer have a $4,000 payment a month, and then we just take distributions moving forward. We would have property management fees, we'd have utilities,
Hmm.
but this is a six-figure producing property. So from an ROI perspective, I mean, you're going to be looking somewhere between 8 to 15% ROI, cash on cash annually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And the appreciation is going to be there too. I mean, that'll be a $1.1 million property
Yes.
in 5 years.
That's
Um,
what that actually that's a good point you bring up, and you brought that up without me even mentioning it. I mean, that's ultimately why we don't want to sell this one and recapture the equity in this one like we've done the other properties, because I know hands down this property will be $1 million property in the next few years.
yeah, yeah. That's a lot of
But we also
sunk
don't need we
capital,
also
though.
don't need right? Like we also don't need to bring on a partner, but I do have I don't know. It doesn't cash flow well because it's got a $4,000 mortgage on it.
Sure,
You know,
sure. Either way, though, I mean, if you've got a chunk of change that, like, I mean, if you could throw 100 grand on it and then refinance it for a point and a half less, which is where you'd be at now, like, I mean, you'd be looking at 7.8, maybe less from
right?
9 something, right? So, like, you might be able to knock 2,000 bucks, 1,500 bucks a month off of that payment through interest deduction and principal reduction, and then just tell your dad you'll give him 1,500 bucks a month. Like, if you threw his 200 on it and you just refinanced it and you left your cash out of it, like, then you hold what, a $350,000 note on it or something, and then you lower the interest rate by a point and a half or two. Like, now you're talking about, like, then you could just give your dad 1,500 bucks a month,
Right.
and and then you guys are writing the appreciation. He's essentially giving you a gift of 300. I mean, you already have the property, but you want to make it mutually beneficial for you guys.
Sure.
And
Right.
at that point, he's giving you a little more cash flow. You're giving him a secured rate of return on his cash flow, and then you can ride out the 350, $400,000 gains too.
Mhm.
It changes
Yeah.
the cash flow dynamic by doing that.
Yeah. I was also thinking the property we're selling, that was the first STR we bought. So we did a second home mortgage on that at
Hmm.
90%. This North Carolina one is DSCR, but the deed is in the LLC. So I don't know. I know there's pros and cons from a liability standpoint. This was the only one. The North Carolina part was the only one that was pure LLC on everything. And so, is there an argument to be made to deed transfer it back to me personally and then refinance with a traditional mortgage to get an even lower rate? And
Yeah,
potentially, if I could find someone, yeah, if I could find someone doing 85% to 95%, I may not even like include my dad on that. If I can make the economics even better without it, I just like helping, like, again, mutually beneficial. If it gets my cash flow better and it helps my dad make money in retirement, I'm open to that. But
yeah. I mean, it depends on what you guys are doing it for. Like, if you wanted to set up like a pseudo, I mean, if you just rolled his money in to say, hey, Dad, I can give you for your 200 grand, I can give you fucking whatever, $18,000 a year for the rest of your life. Like, and he's like, cool, that's fine. Then I mean, that's kind of up to you guys. I don't know about going 50-50 on the property because you've already got it. I mean, like, I don't even know if I'd mess with the LLC. I mean, you could bring
right.
him in as a like a 1%, like, silent partner type thing, but then guarantee him the profit share that he's looking for. Um,
Hmm.
and then take it from there. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, our parents are going to pass away and you're going to have to do something with that asset, right? Like,
Right.
so, like, you want to look long term, but, like, what can you do for him today? Probably 2 grand a month is going to make his life a lot better Like
Oh
then
hell yeah.
certainly it being parked in that fucking house that he's currently got, but also
Right.
like, hey, I'll give you $2,000 a month for it forever for that money. Like I don't know. It depends on how you want to structure it. I would get a little creative about it based on who needs what now and who wants what out of it. But it's a good thing to look at all the options. I don't know that I would want $800,000 tied up in the fucking thing, though.
Yeah,
That's a
that's yeah,
lot of money that you could put to work today.
sure.
But for him, $200,000 tied up in it in his stage of life
Yeah,
is
for him, he
super
just
fucking
wants the
smart.
income. Yeah,
Yeah.
he just wants the income. Like if you're saying 18 to 20 grand a year for 200,000, that's 9 to 10% returns. Um, and again, he's got money in a 401k, so arguing putting that in the market when you're entering retirement, not the smartest. So if you're going to do a conservative investment, you're looking at 4% returns. So if he can get cash on cash return of 18%, um, that's better. Yeah, I definitely, my opinion. I'm not a fan of having all that tied up equity, but I'm also looking at ways to decrease my expenses. And if that property can do 100,000 and I don't have it mortgaged, or
Yeah.
I use my life insurance loans just on that property, and just
Yeah.
let that. Oh, here's another argument then. If I can use all my capital to pay off a 9.1% and have half of that and open up the free and clear cash flow and not feel like I need to pay down my outstanding personal loans and just hold it straight for 3 to 4 more years and let it appreciate. And then at that point, sell and pay down the loans with accruing interest. That
Hmm.
may be good for my current situation as we build businesses to offset the cash flow. There's an argument to be, but I'm not sold on that idea either. But that's definitely a potential just to cut down on, higher rate
Yeah.
interest debt, which I'm
Yeah.
obviously comfortable with for a year and a
You gotta,
half.
you gotta figure that out though, because like you just are coming off the back of a hurricane. And so if you put $1 million of equity into one single property that's supposed to generate you 125K, and
Yeah,
then something else happens, like
yeah,
if you take 125K to zero, like is that problematic? Probably. But
right.
if it's paid off, you only owe the taxes. So like
Yeah, I
so it's a
definitely.
risk assessment on that front too.
I'm super comfortable in the position we're in, so I don't need to do anything. I'm just, how my brain works as I see family
Yeah.
members come into me. I'm just like, how can we both benefit?
Mm.
But like the current situation we're in is like, hey, it'll cash flow, but in down months it won't. So on the month that it doesn't cash flow as a standalone, because on the months that property didn't cash flow well, my other properties would make up for it. So I've never had to
Yeah.
put money into it, but with it now going down to one LLC, one property, I'm not going to keep a ton of money in that LLC's bank account. I never did to begin with, but now on a down month, I might have to throw, let's say, $1,000 to it in the off season on the down months. But I'd rather throw $1,000 life insurance loan on an off month to it than throw 500 or whatever the number is and
Hmm.
have it all trapped. And so I'll probably stick with what I'm currently doing. I just wanted to see what your opinion was if you could own that property, because we have talked about on other episodes, like, going from 100 properties that cash flow $100 to going down to five that might cash flow ten
Yeah.
thousand. Well, if this property does recover, I mean, the town has recovered. Boone and Blowing Rock is different than Nashville right now, and
Yeah.
we do have a football season starting. So I do anticipate that will be at least 80, 90, hopefully $100,000. You know, there is an argument to be made that from a cash flow perspective, it would be better not to have that mortgage, but from a liability perspective and how many times can I turn it over? But like you said, it is in the next couple of years be a $1 million property. So
But
I don't know. I can,
I mean, if it's an $800,000 house and your dad's got 200 grand and you've already put the team in place and know how to run them, my mind says go buy another one. And then you're hedging in the same
right.
area. And then,
Well, there
and
is
then you already know.
I mean, we have, and for you, those of you that don't know this problem, this is a modern luxury cabin in Boone when most of the other properties are like 40, 50-year old cabins. So they're old. there isn't that argument right there. One of the other properties that the same builder built, it's basically like a miniature sized of what we have. It's
Hmm.
about 750 square feet, but it's essentially the same damn house on the other side of the highway. And
Yep.
it's listed. Someone lived in it. It wasn't a rental. Someone lived in it. That's now actually for sale. It's been on the market for 60 days, and it's for sale for 550,000. So
That's what I would do.
200,000. Damn it.
Because the whole machine is already there. All you've got to do is buy the thing and throw it over the wall. And then you can still give your dad the same rate of return that he's looking for. Go 50-50 on that one with him.
Mm, son of a bitch. Am I
Yeah.
going to go from three STRs to two to one back to two?
Yep. Yes, you are.
But
Yes, you are.
but the good but the good thing is I do have a really good team in place down there.
Yes.
So it's not like I did the when I built the three the first time. It was three in three different towns.
Yep.
One team did bounce between two towns, but it was like a 40-minute drive, so it did cause some issues. Um,
You've
okay,
done
okay,
80% of the hard part already, man. This is exactly kind of what I'm doing while I'm on the road. Like if my team back home identifies deals or I hear about a deal and I can just snatch it up and throw it over the wall to them, it's zero work for me except arranging the financing and putting the money up for it. So like you should probably be open to something like that too, because I mean, why not?
right,
Because then you're snatching up another property that you know is going to appreciate similarly as well, and so the
sure,
upside is much higher with multiples, and now you're starting to put together a little portfolio in one single area that then could be bundled and bought together too.
right.
Because let's
Well,
say you
shit.
go back to three in that same area, now you've got three properties, same area, same team. The value becomes exponentially greater for an investor because now I know that it's a passive investment, pseudo passive investment, because I see these predictable results
Sure.
and everything's in place because I'm not doing it. So
Yeah,
we'll leave you with
that
that,
property has
guys.
that property's been sitting for 2 months, so I feel like that property's been sitting for 2 months, so I could probably work that price down a bit. All right. Well, I need to get off this episode because now I'm going to be thinking about this for the rest of the day because it is the opposite of what I've been doing for my short-term rental portfolio. So, Jeff Smith, as always, I appreciate you. And I know you're probably going to think about this because that's how your brain works, problem solver, strategy creator, Jeff Smith. So feel free to text me any other thoughts on this. But I thought it would be fun for people to hear how my brain works. As the lesson here though is to, like, if you've listened to our podcast, I've been very open about what I've been trying to do. So it's interesting to bring this situation and see that even though we have strategies in place, see how quickly we can be fluid based on what the
Yep.
market is presenting to us and what other people are coming into our life. Now, my dad's my dad, but I didn't know my dad was going to sell his house, right? Like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden he is. I didn't, I didn't know this other property that the same builder built was going to be put on the market right, right across the highway from the one that we own that does really, really well. So maybe when I was in town last week, I should have went and looked at it. Now I'm going to have to drive back to North Carolina by myself and take a look at it. All right, Jeff, thank you for appeasing me in my life situation. If you want,
I love
add
it,
anything
bro.
else. If not, send the people out.
Guys, thanks for listening. Join the free Facebook community, the Tactical Empire community. If you have questions like this, we can break down your scenarios. Send us DM on Instagram. That's the best place to get a hold of me and Sean, probably to have a conversation. But thank you for listening. Send it to a friend that this may be beneficial for. And have a great week. Kick ass. Thank you for listening, as always, and we'll see you next week.